Are the Buffalo Bills all the way back? Speaking of, Chris's Patriots gave us a little bit of help, beat the Steelers. Will they play their way out of an early draft pick? And speaking of early draft picks, it appears that Zach Wilson might be back. It appears that maybe him and Tua switch places over this weekend. So time will tell. We'll see what happens. More to come on this episode of the AFC East Summit. What is going on, everybody? My name is Jake Podger. I am the host of today's AFC East Summit show, and I am very excited to be back. It's been a couple weeks, and coming off a nice win for my squad, the Buffalo Bills. A little controversial at the end there. You know, I'm sure everyone has their opinions. We are joined today by Dolphin Keith, representative of the Miami Dolphins, and DKB Jets, who is, I know he's been on the show before. DKB, very nice to meet you, sir. First time I've actually been on a show with you. But you'll be representing the Jets today. We normally have Anthony on the show. I know he couldn't make it tonight, so appreciate you joining us, and really excited to have you on. And Chris, who will be joining us at some point. Surprised he wasn't the first to be on the show because you know Chris, he likes to gloat a little bit. Pat's coming off a major victory against those Pittsburgh Steelers, and I'm fired up that they did it because I'll tell you what, it helped the Buffalo Bills out a little bit. And on top of it, shoot, maybe they could string together a couple wins, minus the Bills, and play their way out of an early draft pick, as I mentioned. So, fellas, how we doing tonight? DKB, I'm going to go to you first, man. Welcome to the AFC East Summit show. I know you've been on before. How we feeling after that Jets victory, man? Convincing, 30-6. Are you kidding me? Wow.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Appreciate you gentlemen having me back. Yeah, it was great. It was great. You know, we chatted a bit about it. It's been a rough season for us overall. Maybe more so than a lot of other seasons, right? Generally, we've had high hopes, but it's come from draft picks. This time you have a legit Hall of Fame quarterback at the helm. So it was very, very high expectations. And I was chatting with a friend about this. I think we forgot the floor could be so low, right? The doomsday theory actually ended up happening, right? Aaron Rodgers goes down. We didn't have a lot of solid plans in place, but this victory really helped out, and it has been interesting talking to a lot of fans. You know, Jets fans, we can be finicky at certain points, right? So a lot of the debate right now is, did Zach Wilson save his Jets career, right? Is he now suddenly the second coming of Joe Namath again? His best performance since we've seen him play against the Chiefs, and it resulted in a win this time, unlike the last one. But, you know, I would say this is the closest to seeing what the team's potential should have looked like with Aaron Rodgers at the helm, with what Zach Wilson did this year. An elite defense. This wasn't even an elite offensive performance in my opinion, but definitely above average. And our special teams have showed the ability to go out there and flip field position pretty often for us. So convincing win for me. We'll see. You know, we have the Dolphins this week. I want to see how we follow that up. But yeah, I've nothing but excitement so far since the win.
For sure, brother. And hey, you guys aren't out of it. Listen, you could string together some wins, maybe win out, get a 9-8 record. Some other teams lose, help you out. I know there's a long way to get there. Maybe Aaron Rodgers finds his way back into the starting lineup. I know he's saying potentially by Christmas Eve, he'll be ready to go. So you string together a couple wins. You get a big win against the Dolphins. I know Keith's hurting a little bit from that loss last night. I feel bad for your brother. I've been there. Trust me, it hurts. But you just never know. And if I was to tell you, I'm going to give you these stats. 10 for 23, 91 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. If you had to pick between C.J. Stroud and Zach Wilson heading into that game on who would have those numbers, I'm sure 99% of these people out there, us included, would probably say that would be Zach Wilson's stats. But he ends up just slinging it. He goes 27 for 36, 301 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Garrett Wilson has over 100 yards receiving. I mean, you got to be pretty happy with how that offense performed.
Yeah, considering that the weapons that we brought in haven't actually lived up to their potential. We expected Garrett Wilson to be the superstar. Yeah, to be honest, it's a game I didn't even watch, right? I suffered through 3 or 4 games prior to this where we struggled to even produce 100 positive yards, by the end of the game. So when I just happened to tap back in by halftime and I looked at it, it was a shock to me. I was like, okay, I think Zach Wilson was like 10 of 13, 99 yards or something, no turnovers. I was like, okay, not spectacular, but very, very solid, from based on what we're accustomed to with them. But, context is everything too. What do you really have to lose in the Jets offense right now? You've been historically one of the worst teams ever. Third down efficiency, first downs in general, passing touchdowns. So seeing us open up the playbook once again and just trusting him, either you can make the throws and make this offense function or not, was kind of a breath of a fresh air.
For sure, man. Yeah, I'm sure everyone in the Meadowlands was feeling real good about that. Both Jersey teams getting a win this past weekend, by the way, freaking incredible. Tommy DeVito, the other guy in the Meadowlands, just
crazy.
Mr. Tommy DeVito, Tommy Cutlets. You got to love to see it.
Did you see the picture of Tommy's agent?
I did.
Yeah. The mafia attire.
Yeah, man. They were panning to him and his dad, and they were giving each other kisses, and you just felt there's something changing there in the Meadowlands right now between the Jets and the Giants. I think both teams, maybe there's just something, subtle changes. I don't know what it is. Obviously, Tommy DeVito being thrown back into the mix, and Zach Wilson, I think he has a fire lit under his ass. He wants to prove these haters wrong. His character came into question over the week prior to this game here, and I think he definitely took that to heart. He wants to show that he's willing to go out there and sacrifice and play for this team. And I'll tell you what, man, we saw numbers from even Breece Hall that we haven't seen in a while. 8 catches for 86 yards and a tutter. He had 40 rushing yards as well. So, just awesome to see. The defense was absolutely killing it. I know Quinn Williams got a sack. Bryce Huff with a sack. How many sacks did you guys register? Holy smokes.
I think we had about 5 for the game, 4 or 5.
Yeah. The DNs were eating up, man. Freaking awesome to see. So you got to be feeling real good about that. I know I was too, because that was a game that I didn't expect the Jets to win, and I kind of needed them to win it. So helps us a little bit, knocks the Texans down to 7-6, and the Bills are still in the hunt, somehow at the 10th seed, because we're 7-6 with a bunch of other teams, and they always, of course, they have the tiebreaker over us. So pretty wild stuff, man. But let's go to the comments here. Mike coming in. Let's go Buffalo. Mike, always great to see you, sir. We appreciate you joining us tonight. And we got Tom S. Tommy, love you, brother. Saw your awesome setup that you have there, the Sabre stuff, the pennants and all that. So, by the way, if you have not joined our Discord, there is a link below to join that. We do have an AFC East Summit chat as well, where you guys can chat us up and ask us your questions there if you don't want to wait to the show to talk to us a little bit about that. Tom also says, DKB, welcome and love your attire. What are we wearing there right now, man? Looks pretty damn good. Swaggy.
Yeah, just some Egyptian stuff.
I love it.
Yeah, I tend to have a lot of that kind of stuff. It wasn't even a planned thing, but
well, you're setting the tone. I can tell you that. I love it. Where is Chris? That's a great question, Brett. I have no idea. And like I said, so earlier I said I figured Chris would have been the first one to join here because his Pats get a big win, and he loves to gloat. We know that. So figured he would have been the first to join. He probably would have been on here at about 7:30, but he's a little late. He said he was going to join, so Hopefully, fingers crossed. If not, we're just going to have to talk some crap about the Pats. I don't know. Mad Chatter also saying Dolphins lost to the Titans. So, yeah, actually, I want to get into that right now, Keith. We are very aware. This is a very fresh loss, and, of course, there is the 24-hour rule in effect. So, Keith, you technically still have some time to be upset because the game ended at like 11:30-ish.
Yeah.
So, after that, though, you got to move on to the Jets. But let's talk a little bit about this, man. Like, obviously, we saw Tyreek Hill go down with an injury, a little concerning there. And I saw something where it was in his press conference. I think he said his wife and him were texting back and forth, and she basically told him to get back in there. So he's like, all right, well, I'm not going to let my wife call me out like that, so I'm going to get back in the game. And obviously, he serves an impact just being on the field. But you could tell he was a little banged up, and he sat some time out as well. But talk to me about this Dolphins performance. What went wrong, and how are you feeling? I know how you're feeling, but just give me an overview of how you're feeling and how optimistic you are moving forward.
Well, I'm not feeling great. It was a rough loss, and the Dolphins were up by 2 scores with 4 minutes left in that game. Those scores weren't earned; they were handed to them on a silver platter. throughout that entire game, the Dolphins just played a bad football game. Just mental errors left and right. We talked about the Tyreek Hill going down with an injury. The bigger injury, in my estimation, was Connor Williams going down, their center.
Yep.
And he's got a torn ACL. He's done for the season. So the Dolphins are going to have to find a way to move on, now that he's gone. But, they missed him probably more than they missed Tyreek, if we're being honest about it. Liam Eichenberg came in there and immediately botched snap inside of the 5-yard line, which led to a fumble. And then 2 holding calls, 1 false start. They need to find some sort of consistency at center, and not consistently bad, some sort of consistency where at least I can trust that the ball is going to be snapped correctly. That was the biggest. That was a bigger loss than Tyreek in my estimation, because it seemed like once Connor Williams went down, the rest of the offensive line, which consisted of mostly backups, other than Austin Jackson, everybody on that offensive line last night was a backup. Once Connor Williams went down, the offensive line just kind of imploded once that happened. And Tua didn't have time to throw the ball. And without Tyreek getting open as quickly as he normally does, Tua was under duress all night. If he wasn't getting sacked, he was running out of pressure and, trying to get outside the pocket to extend time and throw the ball. It just wasn't a good, well-played game by the Dolphins. Their defense also kind of faltered a little bit. And defense has been kind of a stalwart over this past month or so. Their defense didn't look good either. So, letting up those 2 touchdowns in the including a 2-point conversion in the final 4 minutes there. It's just this is the kind of loss where it either galvanizes a team or tears them apart. And we're going to find out in this upcoming Jets game which one it is. And I honestly don't know which one it is.
Yeah. Yeah, and you got the Jets coming off a huge moral victory for them, and just a huge victory in general. So that defense is obviously still playing very well. And even in that Black Friday game, there were some moments. I feel like even after the Black Friday game, Keith, you didn't feel super great about that win that the Dolphins had. And it to me, it's similar to the Bills. They do a lot of things to potentially lose the game. They try to throw it away almost. And it's like you're just sitting there scratching your head, banging your head against the wall almost, right?
Yeah.
And it's like
there were mental errors in that game last night too.
Right.
Bradley Chubb taking off his helmet. He missed a sack on Will Levis. But Will Levis scrambled. They stopped him on 3rd down. It was going to be a 4th and 5. Titans kicked the field goal. Bradley Chubb tosses his helmet because he was frustrated. He missed the sack. Titans go and score a touchdown. That's 4 points right there that the Dolphins just left on the board. And then the blocked field goal. Another 3 points the Dolphins left on the board. Get inside the 5, fumbled snap. 3 to 7 points left on the board. The Dolphins have all these mental mistakes that they had that's been kind of plaguing them all season. It's just it was such a frustrating game to watch, because in spite of the fact the Dolphins they played one of their worst games of the season, they were in position to win that game, and they just let it go. So, like I said, they're coming up against the Jets this, on Sunday. I want to see them bounce back. I want to see them play angry. I want to see them play indignantly. Because DKB, I'm sure you'd agree with me, the Dolphins are the better team overall. But they don't always play like the better team. And that's their problem.
I think the Dolphins
admitted, but yeah.
Chris, welcome, sir.
Chris.
I had to pull this comment up by Mad Chatter. Freaking love it. I mentioned this multiple times already, but I figured as much. You would have shown up earlier than any of us after a big dub against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Bailey Zappi out there slinging it, throws 3 touchdowns against that defense. Are you kidding me right now?
Yes.
We'll get to that in a minute, but welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you.
We appreciate you joining us tonight.
I appreciate it.
We're just hell yeah, brother. We're joined today by DKB as well, so really excited about that. And we were just talking a little bit about this Titans and Dolphins game last night, and man, let me tell you, yeah, heartbreaking, Keith. You know, it's tough to see. I mean, obviously for me, I'm elated, and I hate saying that because you're a friend of mine, and I don't like to see you go through pain like that. And I you say the same thing about me with the Bills, as we lost to the Eagles 2 weeks ago. So it's tough, man. You know, and I think they have something there with the running game too. I feel like they kind of go away from that a little bit. I mean, Raheem Mostert, 96 yards, 2 tuds. You got Devon Achane too, who absolutely killed it. I know he had a shot at a nice long pass yesterday too, and you know, unfortunately didn't get there.
You know, and that was actually one of two of his better throws. Achane slowed up a little bit. If Achane keeps on running at full speed the way he was, he's catching that right in the stride and walking into the end zone.
He's so fast too. Yeah. Like, man, that's easy money.
It was just a game of missed opportunities for the Dolphins, and they just let him off the hook. You know, Sean mentioned something in the chat here. Ever since McDaniel came, the Finns have been very undisciplined. He's right. He's absolutely right. The Dolphins have they are an undisciplined team since McDaniel came, and they weren't undisciplined when Brian Flores was the coach. So there needs to be more of a disciplinarian in Mike McDaniel, and he needs to. I don't know what he has to do to get these guys in line, but these mental errors are just going to be the death of them if they let it be.
You think there's something to be said about him being too much of a player's coach? That not that the players don't respect him, but it's almost one of those things where it's like being a parent to a kid. It's like you can be a parent to your kid and also somewhat be a friend, but if you become more of their best friend than a parent, you know, it's one of those things where you're sort of crossing that line and it can mess things up. And maybe that's what's happening with the Dolphins. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Yeah, no, I think there's something to that. You know, they say, you know, I don't know if you ever read The Prince by Niccolo Machiavelli, but he said it's better as a leader, you want to be loved and feared, but if you have to choose between one of the two, you choose feared.
I like Michael Scott's quote better, actually, but yeah.
What was that one? I don't know.
He said, is it better to be feared or he said, is it better to be feared or loved? He said, I'd say both, or I forget. I gotta find that. Just pause. You keep going. I gotta find that quote. It was really good.
They say that's what he said. You know, it's better to be feared rather than loved. And Mike McDaniel is really well liked, and he's a really unique guy. And the Dolphins, I know the players do respect him to an extent, but I don't know that they fear him the way they feared Brian Flores, the way the Patriots fear Bill Belichick. You know, I look at remember after the Patriots win, and I'm sure we'll get into that, Chris. Bailey Zappi went up to Bill O'Brien. He gave him a big bear hug, and then he looked at Bill Belichick across the room and just kind of came over and just gave him a respectful handshake. That's the kind of relationship Bill Belichick has with his players, and I think Mike McDaniel would benefit from having a little bit more of that rather than the Bill O'Brien dynamic.
Yeah. By the way, the quote from Michael Scott, and I think this actually applies to probably Mike McDaniel's mantra. He says, would I rather be feared or loved? Easy. Both. I want people to be afraid of how much they love me.
How
about it?
Sounds like him.
You know?
That's Michael Scott for sure.
Yep.
Right. So, no, I mean, I think that's well put, Keith. And, we'll see what happens, man. Big game coming up between the Dolphins and the Jets, man. This is do or die for really both teams. Obviously, the Jets still got a very, very slim chance of getting to the playoffs if they win out and a bunch of other teams lose. And obviously, they want Aaron Rodgers to come back and play at some point this year. He's saying Christmas Eve. Not sure if that's going to happen. DKB, how we feeling about that recovery, man? You think A-Rod has anything back and playing for your team today or this year?
Yes. Do I want it to happen? No. There's as much as I would desperately love to be in the playoffs, it makes zero sense to really go out there and risk the injury again. I mean, even in the most optimistic mind, he goes out there, he suffers another major injury. If he attacks rehab the same way, he's still coming back by training camp, but it's like, why risk it? Get you 150%, healthy version of Aaron Rodgers for 2024 and see what you can get accomplished. But I wouldn't be surprised, but I think common sense will win out and, we'll ultimately shut him down and just try to get him to focus on practice.
Agreed. Yeah, I think this is more of an audition. I guess the rest of the year is more of an audition for Zach Wilson as compared to like an anticipated return of Aaron Rodgers. So 100% with you, man. I think right now Zach Wilson's job is certainly on the line, and what he did this past week is, helping him in every way possible right now. So for him to be out there and, show that he's capable of doing these things, it's a good thing, because eventually Aaron Rodgers is going to retire. Maybe the Jets do keep Zach Wilson and he can learn behind Aaron Rodgers and become that guy. Maybe having that veteran presence is what he needs, so time will tell. But I want to go back to some of the comments here. And let's see here. My dad's saying the Bills got to beat the Cowboys and then make Keith a little nervous. Yeah, absolutely, Dad.
I'm already a little nervous, Alan. I'm already a little nervous.
That is the Bills matchup this upcoming Sunday, and it's going to be a real big test for us. I mean, you thought Kansas City was a test. Now we got Dallas, who is really rolling. They just came off a big victory against Philadelphia, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. Let's see here. Brett's saying that Chris was probably crying because of the rumors about Belichick being fired at the end of the season. How are we feeling about that, Chris?
Just rumors. I mean, they've been saying that entire season, all season long. So at this point, I won't believe it until I see it. We'll see how it goes. If it's time to break it down and build it up new, then, we appreciate Bill and everything he's done for the organization, just like we appreciate Tom and everything he's done for the organization. The legends can't be there forever. You got to make way for sometimes the young guy like Mike McDaniel or somebody to step in and take the reins. So we'll see how it goes,
If you could handpick any coach in the NFL right now to be the next coach of the New England Patriots, who would that be? Tough question.
I'd probably pick the Detroit Lions coach, honestly. Dan Campbell.
The head coach? Yeah.
Yeah, the head coach, Dan Campbell. Yeah,
honestly, Chris, I'd go Mike Vrabel.
There's rumors.
I know that's the rumors. That's the rumors. Yeah. I see why you'd go Mike Vrabel, but I don't know. If I had to pick someone who turned around an organization that was just absolutely awful, I would go either the Texans coach or the Lions coach for sure.
I think that's well put. Yeah. I mean, DeMeco Ryans too. That's a guy that's honestly, they're 7-6, obviously came off a tough loss against the Jets, but still, in my opinion, in the running for coach of the year, just because of what he's done there in Houston, totally exceeding expectations. So he's done a tremendous job.
Oh yeah, and to answer Mad Chatter's comment about coming in late, I wasn't coming in late. I made a what's it called? I was coming in. I had this in my head too when he had wrote it up. I was making a grand entrance like Bailey Zappi did this past Sunday.
Oh, okay.
This past Thursday, so the grand entrance.
That. Is Bailey Zappi the quarterback of the future?
He's better than Mac Jones, that's for sure.
I agree, man. And I think he has the respect
for that, Chris.
No, he doesn't.
It's not a high bar, but when you have Mac Jones as your quarterback, you kind of take what you can get. But it's kind of which I'm glad because you see some life. He came in there slinging, he was scorching hot. It was good to see as a Patriots fan that at least they made the right decision moving forward because I hadn't seen any of that the entire season. And one of my biggest complaints for our offense was that we didn't start off hot enough. We didn't get those early scores. So for him to come up and put in 1 point up in the first quarter and then to put up 2 points in the second quarter, it was good to see. 21 at the half. I don't think we had a half like that the entire season. So I was beautiful. I love to see it. But second half was a little bit different story. But hey, it was just kind of maintaining. We had Mitchell Trubisky against us. We didn't have too much to do. So,
amen to that. Now, if Kenny Pickett was in that game, you think things are any different, or do you think same result?
Well, one of the biggest surprises of the season, honestly, has been the Steelers' record because of how porous their offense has been. So I don't think it would have been any much of a difference, honestly, because I want to say Kenny Pickett, he may move the ball a little bit better than Trubisky, but they also kind of hold the reins. It's like they hold the reins back on him, so they don't really let him loose in that Steelers offense. So I think he probably would have got the win, but at the same time, they also had a TJ Watt. Yeah, TJ Watt was pretty banged up the entire game. So
he was neutralized, man.
Yeah, but on the first play of the game, he went down with an injury. He came back in, but he just kept going down the entire game. So I think he was just struggling through injury, which is probably why we got away with that win.
You know what? Your veteran players really stood up to the challenge, I think, in that game. And it was a nice homecoming for Juju Smith-Schuster, too, going back and playing in Pittsburgh. 4 catches for 90 yards in that game. And how about Zeke Elliott, man? Putting up a hell of a fantasy performance, too. I'm upset I didn't start him. He was sitting on my bench in our league. And I played you, by the way, Chris. You absolutely smoked me this past week. We got playoffs coming up. And I know our boy Keith over here, I don't know. We'll see what happens if he ends up at the Waffle House at the end of the year. Don't
Keith looks like
Monica, ears closed if you're watching, if you're listening. I know you're not too happy about that one. But it's going to be very interesting to see what happens there. It's a one-way race, I would say, between Keith and Timmy right now.
Yep. Keith, if I was you, I'd start fasting right now and save that appetite.
You know what? I'm in ninth place right now. I am feeling good about my chances.
Hell yeah. You got it, brother. Well, hey, your name is Victoria's Secret, so I think you got to – Victorious is in your actual team name. It's time for that name to really come true.
Agreed.
But anyways, yeah, I want to talk a little bit more about this Patriots and Steelers game. So Hunter Henry, 3 catches, 40 yards, 2 tuds. Finally kind of looking like his old self. You know, he signed a big deal with the Patriots. You got to be quite excited about that too. And I think going into this year, you know, you guys signed Mike Gesicki. You think that double tight end system is going to be back. The Patriots got weapons now. They're going to utilize that. How are we feeling about the inclusion of him in the offense now too?
Well, you know, I was glad that we got, you know, we were able to get some offensive pieces. One of the biggest challenges that we had, you know, toward the end of Tom Brady's tenure with the Patriots is that we didn't have enough skills position players. So to see them actually going and trying to get the offensive pieces that we needed to be a successful team this year was nice to see. Unfortunately, at the end of the day, the biggest skill position that we needed help at was quarterback, which really kind of hurt the offensive progress that we were looking for in that offseason, you know, kind of letting Mac Jones do his thing and just sink the ship. So seeing Bailey Zappi come in and step up and utilize those weapons to their full potential was, you know, it was really nice to see. I was excited about it. So seeing Mike Gesicki be the player that we know he could be, you know, he was a great tight end in Los Angeles. So seeing him come back and kind of show those flashes of excellence, show those hands. I know that second touchdown he caught was a nice one, right off the tip of his fingers, and he, you know, caught a diving. So it was a diving pass, a beautiful touchdown, but it was also a beautiful ball delivered by Bailey Zappi. If he was out there throwing the ball himself, I'm sure he would have had a much better season than what Mac Jones has been giving us. But you know, seeing him and Juju kind of step up and be those top positions, those top threats in our offense, it was really nice to see. So I'm hoping it continues. I'm hoping Bailey Zappi can keep showing us those flashes of excellence. And, you know, I don't want too many wins because at the end of the day, I still want us to have a very high draft pick. I still want us to go get a quarterback in the event that Bailey is not that guy. So it was good to see, though. You know, good to see. Maybe he could be one of those bridge quarterbacks that we always talk about, you know. So we'll see.
For sure. For sure. Yeah, I mean, you guys got the Chiefs coming up this Sunday. How confident we feeling about that? I mean, the Chiefs are down hard right now. They're down real bad because of how that game ended against us last week. Do you have any confidence in the world that the Patriots can pull one off there in Arrowhead? I think it's actually in New England. It is.
Well, I always have confidence in our defense. You know, our defense is always going to go out there and do their job. They're always going to go fight game in and game out. And also our coaching staff is always going to do their job and, you know, do study game planning and try and neutralize some of their biggest weapons. The biggest thing about the Chiefs is they need those skilled players as well. But it looks like Rashee Rice is turning into be quite the wide receiver one for them. So if we're going to continue to see an emergence of him side by side with Travis Kelce, but if Isaiah Pacheco's out, we have a much better chance, which I think he is out because he's dealing with shoulder injury. So I don't have too much confidence against a win. You know, high-powered offenses always make me nervous as a Patriots fan, but I think we do have a shot. You know, but I try not to have too much confidence because
that Chiefs offense this year, Chris, has been looking more and more pedestrian. Though I wouldn't exactly class. I mean, you know, I know Patrick Mahomes is still the top quarterback in the league, but they've been looking more and more pedestrian. You know, Patrick Mahomes can't throw the ball and catch it. You know.
Yeah. But I want to sorry to interrupt you, Keith, but I just want to say when you have a quarterback of his caliber at that level, you know, leading the charge, then anything can really happen. You could turn those players. I mean, granted, he does need those skill positions. MVS as a deep threat is just quite the disappointment for the Chiefs offense, but still, you know, he has weapons there. If he can just utilize in game plan, then they can, you know, knock out some wins. They can bang out some wins. Their record's not terrible, even with the players they have. It's just, you know, they've had a couple rough games as of late, but they're still always in it. They're still always a threat to make it. You know, you can't knock them out because of how great he is. So
yeah, Yeah, absolutely.
I think they're done. They're done. If you put them up against one of the more elite defenses in the
love hearing
NFL, what I see when I check out the Chiefs is that you do have a Patrick Mahomes, right? Elite quarterback, and he's one of the few rare guys that are not only elite, but he elevates the talent around him.
Exactly.
At this point, it's safe to say he doesn't have weapons because you go back, you have Marquez Valdez-Scantling, you have Nicole Hartman back. I mean, at this point, it's probably safe to say that Isaiah Pacheco is his most talented pass catcher.
Yeah.
Outside of Travis Kelce.
Outside of Travis Kelce, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No respect to Travis Kelce. Yeah, outside of him, obviously, and it's a lot easier to go ahead and shut him down and focus defensive attention on him when you don't have to worry about anybody else stepping up. So, to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if we see like a one and done situation out of the Chiefs when they get to the playoffs.
Yeah. I love hearing that. You think there's any shot too with Denver? They're 7-6. They're a game behind Kansas City right now. And I'm not sure what KC's schedule looks like for the rest of the year. Obviously, they have the Pats this weekend. But you think there's a chance that Denver overtakes that number one spot in the AFC West this year, DB or DKB?
Yeah, I think anything's possible. Sean Payton showed us, which I don't want it to be a knock, but it kind of has to be. Nathaniel Hackett obviously decimated that Broncos offense last year. Russell definitely looks like a top 10 quarterback once again. So I wouldn't be surprised if they sneak in. I think the AFC still goes through the Chiefs, but they're so vulnerable, and it's so weird how the AFC has played out this year. Anything's possible. I wouldn't be surprised if they sneak in the first for sure.
So Jake, the Chiefs' remaining schedule is Patriots, Raiders, Bengals, Chargers. Last 4 games.
Yeah.
Not the hardest of schedules.
Yeah, not the hardest. Not the hardest schedule there, per se. So I would say chances are they probably get into the playoffs, but I do like DKB's message of saying they're probably going to be a one-and-done team, although they are a team that's been there. And based on where the AFC lies right now, looks like there's going to be an awful lot of backup quarterbacks playing in the playoffs this year in the AFC. So the fact of the matter is, when you've been there and when you get to the playoffs, just getting there, you can get hot at the right time, and the Chiefs are no stranger to that. So they do still worry me in that sense, just because they have the experience, and a lot of these other teams do not, and they have backup quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm. As far as backups quarterbacks go, I wouldn't be surprised to see the Bengals make a kind of a deeper playoff run. Jake Browning, he's really showing some talent right there, showing some spark to that offense, right? So,
how about Joe Flacco? Mad chatter. Joe Flacco is him. Yeah, he looks like 2016 Joe Flacco right now. 4,000-yard Joe Flacco. It's pretty impressive, man. Got to say, he's rejuvenated a little bit with that Browns team. I think the play action has worked really well. Obviously, they have a running game that you have to respect. So, being able to fake the run and, utilizing the tight end, David Njoku, like they have supposed to have been using him. Yeah. I mean, he should have been utilized a lot more. He's a freak of nature. I mean, this guy should be more involved in that offense. Good to see him get in the end zone twice on Sunday. Mm-hmm. So, absolutely. How about this one, Sean? Bill is going to become a massage parlor kingpin in the Boston area. That's great. Sean, you're always good for one of those, man. Absolutely love it. Hype Train, $5 all aboard Jake's Choo Choo. This is the donation tracker. I like this. Very nice. $5. Hopefully that $5 is going to go to a great cause there. If you guys can see below there, we do have a QR code. I'm actually not sure how to get this 4-way screen so it fits perfectly. I'm going to have to talk to Mike about that one next show. But we do have a link below for a really great cause. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and play the video, fellas. I hope you don't mind, just to give them an understanding of what we're donating money to. So stay tuned and check out this video.
Welcome, everyone. This holiday season, Nickel City Mafia is honored to be partnered with the Punt Foundation based out of Buffalo, New York, whose mission is to provide financial and emotional support to families facing a pediatric cancer diagnosis. This is the second year in a row that Nickel City Mafia will be adopting a family for the holidays to provide additional assistance to them. The money for the family will help pay their mortgage and other things, as they fight for their child's life. This year, we will be helping a single mom with 2 children. Cardell is all boy. He loves cars, trucks, dirt bikes, superheroes, sports, and the Buffalo Bills. He's the sweetest big brother and loves his little sister. In early October, Cardell was diagnosed with a stage 4 diffuse midline glioma, which is a very aggressive tumor that begins in the brain or spinal cord. In the words of his mom, Kirsten, "I am not taken. There's not much more we can do if the radiation doesn't work," as an answer. We are currently finishing radiation and working to obtain second opinions as far as treatment from St. Jude's, Mayo Clinic, a Philadelphia pediatric oncology hospital, and more. Please keep us in your continued prayers as we navigate to find the best possible care for Cardell. From all of us here at Nickel City Mafia, we ask that you please help this beautiful family in need. Donate using the link down below in the description of this show and share it with friends, family, co-workers, and social media platforms. Thank you all from the bottom of our hearts.
Yeah, so that's a little bit about what that's about. And let me tell you, it always gets me a little bit. And Mike, you did a great job, by the way, narrating that. We appreciate you putting that out there. And yeah, anything you guys can do, even sharing that link goes a long way. We've partnered with the Punt Foundation now 2 times. This is our 2nd year doing it. And last year we had another great family that we were able to raise over $5,000 for. So if you have an opportunity, I know it's a tough time of the year just because of it being the holidays and people are spending money left and right, but anything you can donate will definitely help. And again, the link is in the description of the show here, and feel free to just share that link. That's more than enough, and we appreciate it. And prayers to Cardell and his family as he kind of fights for his life right now. So yeah, just wanted to put that out there, guys. But anyways, getting back to some football here. Let's talk about the Buffalo Bills. I feel like that's a good segue. The Punt Foundation, by the way, Dawson Knox, very heavily involved. And Dawson Knox actually appeared in this game against the Kansas City Chiefs. Bills activate him going into that game. And he comes out and he has 3 pretty impactful catches for 36 yards. Now, the stats aren't gaudy, but I felt like every catch he made was very impactful. He did a great job out there on the field. And, man, this game really started off excellent for the Bills. You know, they go up 14-0. Things are looking great. I'm like, man, Joe Brady is him. Josh Allen is him. This team is just connecting on all cylinders. James Cook looks unbelievable. And the one guy that we're used to performing all the time, Steph Diggs, kind of silent in this one, but I'm okay with it because we're up 14-0 at this point.
Mhm.
And then
I was going to say it's a big shock. It was a big shock to see them squeeze out the win because not only did what's it called, Stephon Diggs not really show up, but the man Gabe Davis didn't show up either. 2 targets and 0.
I know. Trust me, Chris. Very, very frustrating to say the least. It was a weird game just in terms of how the receivers were sort of utilized. Ran a lot of wide receiver screens. Now, I will say there was one play at the end of the game where the Chiefs finally broke down and bid on it, and Gabe Davis was running wide open in the end zone. And I know they showed it on the broadcast, and you're just sitting there. I went back and watched the film on that, and I'm sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, like, how do you not hit this, Josh? Like, that's the craziest part. He'll make these insane throws and insane plays that no other quarterback in the NFL can do, but then he'll miss something as wide open as that. And it's like, oh, gosh. Again, you take the good with the good, the bad with the bad, and there is more good than bad. So I'll say this. We didn't win that game without Josh Allen as he makes that throw to Latavius Murray. And I know we don't know what a catch is anymore right now, fellas. Like Travis Kelce, he had that catch where it looked like the ball was moving. He didn't secure full control of it. They call that a catch. And then the Latavius Murray one, where I don't think that was a catch either, they ended up calling that one a catch. And I think it was more or less them just sort of offsetting those 2 plays, those 2 calls, and just kind of letting that pan out. Obviously, ours was a little more impactful. The Bills go downfield and end up getting some points on that drive, so that was huge. But, man, it was finally a moment for the Bills where we're in this close game, and, of course, they pull the graphic up, and it's like, how many blown leads have the Bills had this year? And there's 4. The Jets, the Patriots, the Broncos, and then there was another one, too, in there. How am I? Oh, the Eagles, of course, the Eagles, which I was there to see as well. And I'm just thinking, how are they going to mess this one up again, right? And 20-17, the Chiefs get the ball, and they make one of the most spectacular plays that we've probably seen in quite some time. And it gets called back. And right away, you saw the flag thrown.
Yeah.
And turns out Kadarius Toney was an inch or two offsides.
Back in the headlines.
Crazy, man, because I feel like he's been on the receiving end, literally the receiving end of so many miscue plays, whether it's a fumble or an offside or a play that doesn't count.
Drop passes.
Yeah, I mean, Chiefs fans got to be absolutely sick about it. And I, as a Bills fan, being in a situation similar to that, my heart sank as well. My heart also sank because I thought maybe the flag would have been on us and it wasn't going to be on the Chiefs. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how does this end? But I'm going to say this right now, fellas. I think that failed lateral is going to overwrite the curse of the Music City Miracle. Our good friend Brett brought that up in our postgame show, and I agree with you, Brett. I think now that's going to set us off on the run that we always needed. We got Dallas this upcoming weekend. We're going in hot, squeezing out a win against the Chiefs, and it's a beautiful thing, man. But I'm gonna ask you guys as outsiders watching that game, how you felt about the ending of it, whether you thought it was offside, and how you felt about the interaction between Pat Mahomes and I guess everyone, and then Pat Mahomes and Josh Allen at the end of the game. So I'm going to start with DKB on this one. Give me your thoughts on that one, brother.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the play goes, I hate to see a game kind of end that way, right? We had our own situation with the Jets when we played the Chiefs, and similar enough situation. So you don't want the zebra men deciding the outcome, but I can't really say it was a bad call, right? Kadarius Toney had like 3 or 4 other, offside penalties that weren't really called throughout that game. So it's not like they singled him out. It's definitely terrible timing. The ending of the game, though, the whole Patrick Mahomes outburst, though, that was wild to me. You don't really see that from like a caliber of player, right? When you talk about like face of the league guys, you don't see LeBron chasing, Steph down when he wins the championship. I don't know too many of the baseball people off the top of my head, but I know they got some $700 million guys out there that aren't doing the same thing. So it was a bad look for him, and I know he came back and like apologized and all that kind of stuff. But I think it's a sign that he almost recognizes that it's not chinks in the armor, right? There's a huge hole in his plot armor right now this season when it comes to being a reigning champion and feeling like you have an opportunity, but also lacking the support around him, right? When you talk about his weapons being very inferior and nobody helping him out, it's hard to elevate somebody that just doesn't have the talent. So yeah, overall, not a great look. Definitely was shocked by it, and to be honest, it gave me the same feelings I had when when you see Stephon Diggs blowing up on the Bills multiple years after just missing out. It was very similar to that in my opinion. So
I think the only difference between him and Steph is Steph does it to his own teammates. It's not the officials. Although I'll say this, I think Steph has been very in check this year, and people have really gotten on him this year, man. And I think he's been very in control of his emotions. And, I love seeing the competitor side of it. And Pat McAfee said something on his show the other day, and I totally agree with what he said, basically saying that these guys' level of competitiveness is so much higher than that of the average human being. So it's okay to see them get upset and sort of vent a little bit. And I will say this, I'm not going to give Pat Mahomes a pass for what he did after the game. I think it was absolutely childish. But, him going to Josh and just sort of venting and talking about that, I think he feels comfortable enough with Josh where they're boys. He's just going to say what's on his mind. And Josh was like, all right, Josh, just a little tap on the chest. He's like, I'm going to keep moving this way. There's nothing he could really say about it. And Pat Mahomes came out and said, it wasn't right for him to do what he did. So, I think as far as a superstar athlete goes, it's tough to see a guy like that freak out and sort of just blow up like that, So something you don't expect from him. I'm sure he will learn from it. I don't hate Pat Mahomes or anything like that. There's no malice towards him. I think, his emotions just got the best of him, and he was pissed off about a play. And if anyone should have been pissed off like that, though, I would think it'd be Travis Kelce. I mean, This is the guy who makes this heads-up play, essentially kept that offense in the game at all times, and he gets robbed of one of the greatest plays of all time. I mean, come on now. It's absolutely insane to me. Yeah. So, I don't know. Keith, what do you think about this whole situation?
Well, I just think it's been a frustrating season for Patrick Mahomes. He's making perfect throws, and guys are dropping balls. Guys are lining up off sides. The running game hasn't been too great. It's just been – and the offense, as I mentioned earlier, the offense of the Chiefs hasn't been the juggernaut that it's always been. They've gotten 8 wins off the back of their defense more than anything.
Yeah.
So I think it was just frustration bubbling up to the top. They finally got this signature moment, this moment that they can ride into the playoffs. Beating a Bills team, kind of knocking off a real contending team and kind of putting a nail into their coffin. And we get to ride this going into the playoffs, and it's taken away because the wide receiver couldn't bother to check with the ref on whether or not he was offsides. It was offsides. It should have been called. There's no doubt about that. But this has just been a frustrating season for Patrick Mahomes, and it's just kind of all coming out now. And it might be a harbinger of bad things moving forward for the Chiefs for the rest of this season.
Yeah.
They need to make some wholesale changes there among their wide receivers. They really do.
Yeah. I like Rashee Rice a lot. I think he's got good size. Obviously, he's a rookie. He's going to go through some growing pains. But the rest of that receiving core, man, they just have been so inconsistent. Like Sky Moore, where is he?
Yeah,
Marquez Valdez-Scantling, again, just struggling. Yeah. He doesn't make the catches when he needs to. There's just a lot of things.
Yep.
And it kind of culminated all in one play there. And gosh, it sucks, And Kadarius Toney, of course, he's offsides, and then Travis Kelce throws it back to him for the lateral, and he scores, and he loses his own little bit of history as well. So tough to see, man. I was relieved. Obviously, I don't like when a game ends like that. And of course, everyone's saying, oh, well, that was the game changer right there. I mean, the Chiefs still had 3 opportunities after that.
Yeah.
To even just get in the field goal range. So did it affect the game? Sure it did. I'm sure it sucked the wind out of their sails. But also, they did have 3 more plays to capitalize. And our defense is so banged up right now. They couldn't even get – we rose to the occasion. I thought Sean McDermott did a good job of keeping his defense in check. And I don't think he didn't waver like he normally does. You're just kind of banking on that defense giving something up like we did against the Pats, Chris. Pats went right down, drove down, and scored within minutes, or not even, like a minute. Mm-hmm. So, you're just sort of expecting that as a Bills fan, and I'm glad it didn't happen that way. It's nice to see us pull out a close one like that, especially against a team like the Chiefs. So now I'll say this. I think from the offside call, absolutely the right call. To Andy Reid's credit, I know he had mentioned in his post-game presser that a lot of times the official will tell you, like, hey, just give you a little warning. And that is very common, So I don't know if they actually did that or not. And then I did see a video that was leaked today of Kadarius Toney looking like he actually did check with the official, but he never got the verification from the official that, yes, you're good. So maybe the official didn't see it. And then right away, the flag was thrown. So it wasn't like that flag was thrown after that play happened. It was thrown immediately. You saw the laundry in the air. So I think moving forward, something that needs to be discussed, treat it like it's a false start. Just stop the play. Because if something like that happens again, it's not good for the officials. It's not good for morale of either team. And an injury can happen on a busted play. So it's like, why risk it? There's too much at stake there. So I think moving forward, maybe adjust that rule. Offside, you just call it a dead play. Don't let it be a free play. Just stop the play, back it up, do what you got to do, restart. So I don't know. Chris, what do you think, brother?
I guess if the rule of thumb goes both ways, because if there's an offensive offside, if there's a defensive offside, most of the time it's a free play, and that's when they go for the kill shot and they go for the downfield throw, So I think they did what they were supposed to do. It's unfortunate, as a professional and as these professional athletes, you're supposed to know better, supposed to kind of be awareness, have your awareness on the field and understand where you're supposed to be lining up and what you're supposed to be doing. Kadarius Toney, unfortunately, made that mistake on a big play, and, it did decide the game. And I don't see anything wrong with the fact that, that a flag decided the game for them because he was offsides. Are we going to let penalties go because these are big plays, and then where do you draw the line at that point? So
Yeah.
but it's just it's an unfortunate thing. But like I said, you're a professional. You're supposed to recognize. You're supposed to do better. So it's just the rule of thumb. Sorry, but yeah, like I said, if you're gonna let it go on offense, you just kind of let it go. Then what happens when they try and do it on defense? When there's a defensive offsides and the guy goes for they go for the big play and then they get a touchdown and turn away the penalty. How does that work out in the future? So it's a slippery slope, and I think the refs made the right call. It might be bad for morale, but honestly, at the end of the day, it was a penalty. So it is what it is.
It is what it is, baby. It is what it is. Roy coming in saying Tony lined up offsides 5 times in that game. And I did see that. They showed all the different occurrences where he did line up offside, and wonder if the ref said anything to anyone on the previous 4. And then finally it was the 5th one that broke the camel's back. Could have been. Not really sure. Very interesting. I think at the end of the day, you just want to see consistency from the officiating. And Terry McAuley did come out and say on the Sunday night broadcast that it has been called 11 times this season. In fact, I believe it was called against the Buffalo Bills earlier on in the year. So it is something to be wary of. And now, damn sure every receiver that goes out there on the field is going to check with the official every single time. So could be good for the future.
I was gonna say, Jake, did you say that the ref threw the flag as soon as the play started?
As soon as it started. Yep, I saw it go up in the air. So.
Oh yeah.
So then you can't really say it's any impartiality. Like he waited for the lateral to come and then they threw the flag. Like he was offside. Nope. So
exactly.
the play was dead from the very beginning. It was like we let it slide 4 times. We're not gonna let it slide this time. It's like they made a good call. Unfortunately, it was on a big play, but like I said,
But I actually agree with what Jake said. If you're going to throw the flag right after the ball is snapped, just blow the play dead.
Blow it dead.
Yeah,
what are you doing?
And I think that's something that the NFL Rules Committee should probably look into for next season because, like you said, Jake, somebody could have gotten injured on that play, on a play that just wasn't going to count anyway. So blow it dead, respot the ball, and let's move on to the next play here. Because he threw it. I saw the flag as soon as the ball was snapped. If you know it's going to be offsides, why are you even going to let this play go on? What's the point? Maybe the Bills get a interception return for a touchdown or something. Like that's the only way this play is going to, stand. So just move on, man.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Just want to get back to the comments here. I know I missed a few of them. So going back to, this is a long time ago. Mike talking about Will Levis. Yeah, he had a hell of a performance against those Finns. And I know Keith was hurting a little bit about that, but he was fired up, man. It was cool to see from a rookie quarterback.
Will Levis and Mike Vrabel. Hats off to that entire Titans team. I didn't give them enough credit when I did my initial evaluation of them, and that's my fault. Hats off to those guys for continuing to fight until the final second ticked off the clock. Honestly,
DeAndre Hopkins turned back the clock a little bit too.
Yeah,
he looked like 2020 DeAndre Hopkins. It was impressive.
Yeah. Will Levis helped me win my game and get in my fantasy playoffs. So I'm in the playoffs in 4 of my leagues right now.
I was about to say,
freaking love it, Chris.
Yep. And that was because I had Kyler Murray on a bye week and Isaiah Pacheco and Jonathan Taylor were out. So I was scared. I didn't know what I was going to do. I was projected to score 80 points in my league, and it was a good week for me. Very good week.
Hell yeah, Chris. Sean coming in saying we're in a world now that people are arguing a correct offside call more than they are talking about Mahomes and Reed embarrassing themselves. Yeah, I will say it's almost like they get some special treatment, right? Like they are the world champs. They're the reigning world champs, I should say. I think you got to hold everyone.
I didn't really pay attention to what happened with Mahomes and Reed that everyone keeps talking about. Like besides them complaining about the call.
It was just their post-game presser. I think it left a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths. But they've come back and since rescinded that a little bit.
It's frustration. It's a heated battle. They just got off the field and you're going to ask them a bunch of questions about the game. If you don't want, answers that are going to be super emotional, maybe wait a little bit before you ask them questions.
So are we really catering? Are we really catering to players now at that level? I mean, the press has a job to do, and the players have a job to do. I mean, the refs have a job to do. Everyone has a job to do. So if they are feeling some type of way, then let them express it. People are going to judge them regardless.
Agreed.
People are going to love them. People are going to hate them. But if they feel like the refs made a bad judgment call, then express it. But are we going to really crucify them because of it?
All I got to say is Josh Allen would never. I don't think Tua would either, Keith. I don't think Tua would either.
No, Tua wouldn't. But Tua's really mild mannered, and
He is.
that's a double edged sword in its own right, Jake.
I think Tom would. I think Tom would because, like we mentioned, these guys have a level of competitiveness. They have a different level of competitiveness than most people. So when they want to win and they feel like that the play, and granted, it was a big play, it was a beautiful play. So when you want to win and you feel like the play is decided on a call like that, then I can understand the visible frustration and how you might express that. So I think Mahomes is a competitor. He's a competitor, and I'll give him that at the end of the day.
The thing is, though, too, everyone says, "Oh, the game's over if that play." The Chiefs win. There's still a minute and something seconds left. We had 3 timeouts. Who's to say the Bills don't go down and score after that? I mean, you left a lot of time on the clock for our boy JA-17. I know we weren't really moving the ball as well in the second half, but come on, give us a chance now. We just beat this team, Let's go.
And when you got Gabe Davis, anything's possible.
Gabe always has big games against the Chiefs. This is the first game he didn't have a single catch against them, and he seems to be developing a bit of a pattern. So 2 games prior to this, he also had 0 catches for 0 yards. Then he goes off against Philly, has 105 and a tud. And then this game, 0 for 0. So he's bound to have a huge game against Dallas.
Hopefully.
It's got to
happen. Dallas is looking red hot right now. They're scary. Probably one of the scariest teams in the NFL next to the San Fran 49ers. So, they're just running through people. And if you look at San Fran, I don't think they've allowed an opponent to score over 20 points in a few weeks right now. So I think maybe did the Seahawks get 22? I think the Seahawks might have got 22 on them. But still.
Yeah, that Seahawks game was good, man. It was back and forth. Yeah.
They played them tough.
Yeah, but I think everyone besides the Seahawks has been held under 20 points. So they're scoring. They have a high efficiency in offense, and they have a strong defense. So they're a scary team, just like Dallas. So we'll see.
They are. I'll say this. I think the key to victory on Sunday is getting James Cook going. I was very upset that we kind of just went away from that. I mean, the guy had 10 carries for 58 yards, caught 5 balls for 83 in the tud. I mean, he had a really nice day. There's no reason he shouldn't have had 200-plus all-purpose yards. Still ends up finishing with a really nice day of 140-something, So just, want to see more of him because he's really exciting with the ball in his hands, man. I think he could be he's got similar size to Chris Johnson almost, right? And a lot of people are kind of shy to say that he's a bell cow back, but I think he can handle it. I think he can handle 18 to 22 carries a game. So take some carries away from Latavius Murray and Ty Johnson and give it to James Cook. He's your explosive back. He's the clear-cut number 1 back, and I think we just got to use more of him. So really hope we do that on Sunday, and I think that it's going to help us out a lot.
So how do you see that game going, Jake?
Big L's.
I think it's going to be No, Chris. I think it's going to be a little bit of a shootout. Now, Dallas's defense is very impressive this year. Their pass rush obviously is unbelievable. It's going to be a hell of a test for Deion Dawkins and co on that O-line. But our offensive line, I think, is definitely exceeded expectations this year. A lot of people not giving them enough credit. Most of the sacks that Josh has actually taken are just him holding on to the football too long or just stepping up into pressure, basically. I mean, that O-line, they give him a lot of time most of the time. And, I think Sunday it was definitely one of their worst performances this year, but I don't even think it was still that bad. I mean, run blocking was good. They did enough, I felt like, at times where Josh did have time. I know he was running for his life a little bit, but you got to get that. I mean, they had Chris Jones, Mike Dana, Derek Nottie. I mean, George Karlaftis. I mean, they got some dogs on that D-line, so there's only so much you can do. And if you're winning majority of the reps, I'm all right with that, but it's going to be a hell of a test. I think it's going to be a shootout personally. I expect it to be kind of high scoring. The weather doesn't look half bad. It's going to be 47 degrees. We're not going to even have snow in the air at that time, guys. Not sure what's going on here in Buffalo, but I will take it. So I'm excited for it. Another 425 game, by the way.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too.
It's going to be a fun game to watch. For sure.
And yeah, I'm excited to see the Jets and Finns beat each other up a little bit too. I think, ultimately, I will say this, DKB, no disrespect to your Jets, but I think the Finns are going to come out firing a little bit. They got a fire lit under their ass, and they don't want to give up this division lead. So
I think the Finns are frauds.
To be fair,
I did see that.
To be fair, and I'm not throwing shots, the entire AFC has struggled against this defense. And like when you take a look at the last matchup we had against the Dolphins, again, we were going on like a 3 or 4 week stretch where we failed to even be able to put up a touchdown. So the defense didn't break until like midway through the third quarter. And Tyreek and Waddle were actually having a little bit better of a day than expected initially. But I'm pretty confident if we get anything close to what we've seen out of Zach Wilson recently, this game isn't as out of hand as a lot of people think it's going to be. Breece Hall looks like the East Coast version of a Christian McCaffrey when he's actually incorporated in the offense. Defense is locked down, so I'm excited. I'm actually expecting a more of a exciting game this go around.
I hope so, man. I want to see a good game between you guys. I really do. And actually, DKB, I am rooting for your Jets, so hopefully you guys pull it off. Be very interesting.
Yeah, I understand where DKB is coming from. And I think in fairness, we don't know which Dolphins team's going to show up. We don't know which Dolphins team's going to show up on Sunday. It's going to either be the team that's demoralized after that Titans loss or that team that's motivated after that Titans loss. And we're not going to know until it happens. And I honestly don't know how this game's going to go. I could easily see the Dolphins losing. I could easily see the Dolphins winning. I still don't think, Zach Wilson's very good, DKB. He may have had a good game against the Texans, but he's still the Zach Wilson that we've all come to know and not like watching play football. This game could go any number of ways. If I had to make a prediction, I would say I think the Dolphins are going to pull out a victory on Sunday, but I don't say that with a whole lot of confidence.
You are one of the most cautiously optimistic Dolphins fans I've ever met, Keith, and I appreciate the hell out of you for being that way. You've always been humble about it. DKB, you got a score prediction? Uh-oh. We may have lost him.
May have lost him.
Or he's just being quiet. I'll give you a score prediction, all right? I'm going to say 24-20 Dolphins. It's going to be a close one. But
I think that's pretty good. I was going to say 27-20. But yeah, I think that's pretty good, Jake. I like that.
I like it. Yeah. I don't like it because the Finns are winning, but I got to be realistic too. So.
But, the Finns have that tough 3-game stretch coming up. Cowboys, Ravens, then Bills. That's going to be the gauntlet that you're really going to find out the most about the Dolphins.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I got to bank on some of those games being losses as well. So,
yeah.
I think it's going to be 34-17 Dolphins.
Okay. I like that score a lot more, Chris.
All right. DKB, join us back. Yeah. Let's see. You got a score prediction for us, DKB, for this Finns Jets game? Maybe not. We'll get back to you soon. I do want to bring up Mad Chatter's comment. He told me to read this out loud. Mahomes wants the Patriots treatment. What do we make of that one, Chris?
Need a few more rings before you get that. Tom Brady. Tom Brady was a champion. He was out there. He shocked the league, and it was funny too. I was on YouTube today. I don't know if you guys ever watched it, but if you watch it, if you get a chance, go watch it. And they have a Tom Brady the Ultimate highlight. And it's like a movie just highlighting Tom Brady's entire career. And I watched about half an hour of that. It was a very great video, but it just kind of showed you how great this kid was, even for them to go and trade, change from Bledsoe to Brady and the things he did in the first few seasons, the points he put up, the yards he put up, the touchdowns he put up, it was just amazing. So, Patrick Mahomes has shown and some flashes, but he's not Tom Brady, and he won't get that treatment. I don't know if anyone will get that Tom Brady treatment again because Tom Brady was just the greatest quarterback in NFL history. So
he's different, man. He's different.
He was. different. It's different.
Yeah,
So.
going back here to just some of the other comments, just talking about the whole neutral zone stuff and the offsides penalty,
And that was my point. That was my
yeah.
point. Yeah. See, it's like you
Right.
guys, they don't stop the play, and then they get a free play because he's in the neutral zone. And then if they score a touchdown, if they go for the deep bomb, then Aaron Rodgers made his career about getting guys to jump off sides and then getting those free plays. So
get the free play.
So then it's got to be the same. Where's the line drawn? It's a slippery slope if you start doing that. So
I mean, that's the thing. The offense is already at such an advantage, right? So maybe that's the reasoning. You let that be a free play. But I think that's a case where you do have to just even that one out and just call it a dead play no matter what. But my dad's saying he thinks it's ridiculous that any receiver should have the ref tell them if he's onside or not. They are pro athletes, not babies. Yeah, 100% agree.
That's exactly a point I said as well. Look, everyone in the chat echoing my points.
By the way, if you are in the chat out here or just watching the show in general, I should have mentioned this earlier on in the show. We appreciate all your support. And, of course, if you do enjoy this show, enjoy this video, please like and feel free to leave a comment. Feel free to chat us up here in the comments and also drop a nickel on that subscribe button if you do so inclined. We have a lot of great content here. This is one of our many shows, and these guys do great work here. So appreciate the hell out of you guys for sure.
I know Brett was talking about in the Discord about possibly getting some AFC East Summit gear. So that's something that we definitely got to look out. Shout out to Brett. Wonderful idea. So maybe look toward that in the future. Some AFC East Summit apparel, help support the show, and just get fly with AFC East.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Mike's saying Dallas has looked beatable on the road. Yeah, couldn't agree more, Mike. I think them coming to Buffalo, obviously it's going to be rowdy as hell, that game. I'm a little upset I'm not going, but the last NFC East team that we played against, the game that I went to, we lost. So maybe it'll be best that I just stay home for this one, sit this one out. So I think it's going to be a great game. I really do. I'm very excited. If we could beat Dallas, I think we are winning out for sure.
Yeah.
Roy's saying Dallas on the road is equivalent to Miami playing a team with a winning record. Oh, tough shot there, Keith.
That's rough.
Hey, no, I mean, I came on the show knowing the night that the hits were going to be coming. So, bring them, boys. Bring it.
I love it. Hey, listen, we've lost plenty of games that we should have won this year too. So I'm right there with you, brother. It's all good.
Have we also talked about some of the highlights that went around the league this week? I know some of the things I wanted to talk about was Tommy DeVito.
I know, it's great, man.
The Italian Stallion is looking like he's here to stay. So where do we see the Giants going forward with Danny Ducks? What do we see going on there?
The problem is they paid Daniel Jones so much money. So unless they want to potentially trade him and have another team take on his salary, I don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon. So now you're opening it up to a potential competition. But the problem is you don't want to play that guy as your backup, the dude that you're paying a ton of money to. Although I do think Tommy DeVito has played himself into a job this year, whether it's with the Giants or someone else. But knowing how much that fan base backs him, I think it'd be a psychotic move for the Giants to get rid of a guy like that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. He's been killing it, man.
Tyreek's ankle.
Any update on Tyreek's ankle, Keith?
He's day today. He's day today from what I saw. 2 updates we got today were Connor Williams is done for the season and Tyreek Hill is day today. Obviously don't want to lose either guy, but the Connor Williams loss is going to
brutal.
That's going to hurt more than people think. That is a rough loss. You do not want Liam Eichenberg taking a lot of snaps for the Dolphins, and he's going to be their center the rest of the season. They traded away their backup center to the Bears in training camp and didn't really have a backup plan other than let's teach Liam Eichenberg how to play center. And that decision is really coming back to haunt them now.
Brutal, man. Yeah, I was watching the Manning cast actually yesterday, and you saw Tua just going under center, putting his hand up top, and they were sort of explaining that you do that because, you want to be able to, when handling the football, of course, you got to make sure that he's snapping at the right height and all that. And, of course, not too many plays in, there's a fumble that happens, and gosh, it's a train wreck. I feel bad for you, Keith. Liam Eichenberg, I know he kind of came in highly touted, really has not panned out super well in the NFL, and it's been a tough go for him. But
he's actually looked decent at guard this year when he's gotten the chance.
Yeah.
But he's looked horrible at center. And couple of holding calls. One was a little ticky-tack, but still a couple of holding calls and one false start against him and a botched snap. If you're a team that fancies yourself as a contender, if you're a team that thinks you have Super Bowl aspirations, you can't be having those kind of plays on offense from one player, no less.
Yeah.
It's just a rough loss. So hopefully he gets some practice reps with Tua and gets himself right.
And it's one of those things too. I think a lot of people say, well, just go shotgun, don't go under center. I would argue that shotgun snaps are even harder than going under center. So it's like,
and it's not like Liam Eichenberg hasn't messed them up this season either. It's been a combination of all those things and holding calls, and it's really it's brutal.
Yeah.
It's just it's a brutal loss. It really is. And you hate to say it, especially in a contract year for Connor Williams. So you don't know what kind of contract he's going to get in the offseason with this knee injury.
Right. Yeah, that sucks. I do feel bad for him because he's really come a long way. I think he's one of the top centers in the league.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about even comparing him to Mitch Morrison, who's better there. I think they're pretty even between the two of them. So
when he's been healthy, he's been every bit the center that Mitch Morrison is, but he struggled to stay healthy this year.
Yep, for sure. Mike's saying he'll say this. He doesn't want to play the Jets. It looks like we got DKB back. DKB, can you hear us, sir? And give us a score prediction if you can for that Jets-Fins game.
Yeah, apologies. I don't know why I hit so many dead zones today.
Oh, you're good, brother.
Metro QCS.
I don't know. I've been kind of going back and forth over this, and I've been trying to pay attention to kind of what's been going on injury report wise with the Dolphins, because I think that'll have a lot to do with, some of the matchups right now. Things up front look great for us, right? When you want to talk about the state of the Dolphins offensive line, the Jets defensive line has been hot all season. If we can couple any semblance of an average looking offense, I think this is a vastly different looking game. But I don't have the faith in Zach Wilson, right? We've seen him outplay some top tier guys historically this year. The Jalen Hurts, the Patrick Mahomes. Now we're coming off this CJ Stroud victory. If we get him, I think it's a clear W for us. If not, though, I kind of expect a loss. I'm hoping to be pleasantly surprised. But I think it would be close. I think we honestly lose by, less than 4 points. So I'd probably say like a 24-20 score. Probably sounds a bit realistic if we can show up.
Boom. Look at that. I said 24-20 the other way, but that seems to be a popular pick. And actually, it looks like DKB. We got a lot of people on your side here. We got a lot of people predicting the Jets
might be wishful thinking
against Miami.
This, a lot of Bills fans saying the Jets are going to win. It's wishful thinking, I think. But,
that's true.
Yeah, I think it's going to be I think the Miami offense is too explosive. Personally, like I said, I'm going 34-17. Miami. So, like I said, you see just some of the explosiveness they have in the backfield. Raheem Mostert this week showed some of it, and then with Devon Achane as well, putting up, I think they both had about almost 200 yards in scrimmages between the both of them.
Oh, yeah.
So just on the ground alone. So then you in the air, if Tyreek Hill's fully healthy, and then you get Jalen Waddle involved in the offense, then I don't see why they wouldn't blow out the Jets, I do not see why.
Paul, to be fair, we have only been blown out by one team, and it was the Cowboys very early with an egregious performance by our offense.
Didn't the Bills
I don't
blow out the Jets earlier?
No, I think it's strong.
Yes, they did.
Okay.
Even then, I wouldn't call that a blowout. That was 3.5 quarters of offensive failure where the defense finally just tapped out.
I agree. Yeah. I mean, the defense was just tired at that point. So what are you going to do? It's like you can only do so much there. I think it's going to be a close game nonetheless. And I would say if you're betting on the Jets, bet them to cover at least, in this one. I don't know what they're at right now, but definitely think that happens. Trek Reviewer, great to see you, sir. He is a known Cam Lewis hater. He thinks DeMar Hamlin is going to play more snaps than Cam Lewis next week against the Cowboys. Could see it happen. I mean, with Micah Hyde being injured too, I think we do definitely see a lot more of DeMar. Not
Jake,
sure what's going to happen with Mike.
Dolphins are currently 9-point favorites in that game.
Wow.
Yeah.
The lack of respect for the Jets, DKB.
Yeah.
What the heck, brother?
I'm most surprised by that line.
Bet the under. Vegas. Vegas always likes to takes people's money. Bet the under.
They know something.
Over under is 39, and the Dolphins are 9-point favorites. I like the Jets in that.
Yeah,
I would take those 9 points.
Take the Jets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For sure. Look at this too, Keith. Wow. Miami misses the playoffs. Now, you got to remember.
Can't go there, Trek.
He's a Bills fan, so take that with a grain of salt.
I can't go there.
DC Defenders tickets selling like hotcakes. Love that. A little bit of XFL stuff going on there. DC Defenders, baby. Eichenberg does okay at center for a guy who is not a center.
It's very true.
With that. Yeah. Jets defense playing with a lot of confidence. Alpha Rob, thank you for joining us, sir. Always good to see you out there. Always good to see Trek Reviewer, Roy, Mad Chatter as well, my dad, Mike, Sean, Brett. We appreciate all you guys. Seriously.
Absolutely.
Thank you for joining us tonight.
Tell your friend to tell a friend.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. We do this every Tuesday night. We try to get on at 8 o'clock. Chris sometimes joins late. Sometimes he joins early, depending on how his team does. He likes to make that grand entrance, though. I freaking love it, brother.
Yep.
Roy's saying he's the only Bills fan. I think Miami wins as well, Roy. I think they're going to get a win. Now, I don't think they're going to do it handily like you said. You said 27-14. I think it's definitely going to be a lot closer than that. So, as we mentioned, I would definitely hammer the Jets to cover this one at +9. Hill ankle is going to be 100%. That's definitely true.
Well,
we talked a little bit about that.
In fairness, Alpha Rob, let's not fool ourselves. Nobody's 100% at this point in the season. And Tyreek Hill's ankle has not been 100% in a really long time. So, hey, look, I understand that people are down on the Finns right now. After their performance last night, it's understandable. But, let's allow for the possibility here that they can bounce back from this. And that's what I'm holding on to right now, because otherwise I'd be going crazy.
I mean,
even Tyreek Hill at 60%, man, he's still explosive as hell. Let's be real.
I mean, just look at Trevor Lawrence. No one thought he would play this week.
Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence, that high sprain looked horrible. Everyone thought he was out. He was going to be out for an extended period. He still managed to play. So, I mean, crazier things have happened.
Absolutely.
I agree, man. I agree. All right, boys. Well, I know obviously we're coming up on the hour and 20-minute mark here soon. I know Keith's got to get to work. We got things to do tonight, too. We appreciate everyone joining us. Just want to get some last and final thoughts from each of you. Keith, I'm going to start with you here.
I'm looking forward to hopefully a bounce-back performance from the Dolphins. I'm looking forward to watching the Bills-Cowboys game. I'm not sure how that's going to go. I'm inclined to think the Bills are going to win that one, honestly. I'm inclined to think the Bills are going to win.
That.
But that's going to be a fun game to watch regardless. It really is. And look, we got 4 more games left in this season, and it's really anybody's ball game as far as who's going to win the AFC East between the Bills and the Dolphins, and who's going to make the playoffs in the AFC. This is going to be some real exciting stuff coming up. And I don't know whether I'm going to be crying or laughing come season end. So, guys, stay tuned. This is going to be a lot of fun.
It is. It definitely is. Yeah, Roy, you missed her. She was in the background like at the start of the show. So this is 2 shows in a row now. My cat, for whatever reason, has found the reason to get on camera. I think she's getting a little jealous. She wants to get on cam. I got a dog up there too, and she acts more like a dog than he does, which is hilarious. But yeah, she was the star of the show in the post game for sure. At Chiefs post game, definitely. DKB, before we lose you, man, I want to get your final thoughts going into Sunday, and just give me any other thoughts you have. And thanks again for joining us tonight, man.
Oh, yeah, my bad. I live in like the boonies out in the mountains. Out here.
Oh, you're good, man.
Yeah, final thoughts is again when we talk about this Dolphins matchup, debatable, right? I know we're towards the end here, so everybody may or may not be able to put their 2 cents in on this, but I would say realistically the Jets are up there with one of the better quality of wins against the high-end opponents that we're seeing this year, right? So I wouldn't say completely count us out. I know some of the blowout talks are there and stuff, but also just dumbing football down to the very simplistic basics. We, on paper, look like we win a lot more of the important matchups that are going to, disrupt the flow of the game for, either side. So hang in there. Again, Jets fan. I'm in the thick of it right now. I'm not expecting a ton out of the season either way, right? Playoffs, not even in my mind. I probably technically checked out like 2 weeks ago, but we're in there. We're in there. I know. I want to say the probability statistic says something like if we beat the Dolphins, it was either 11% or a 30% chance of us reaching the playoffs after that point. So like, well, let's just take care of business and we'll see how the rest of the chips flow, right? I can't wait to see Chris in week 18, but we'll see what happens.
Definitely, man. Hey, where can we find you, by the way, DKB? You have a channel of your own as well?
Yeah. I don't really do social media at all. So anybody who wants to check out my channel, it's the same thing, DKBX Jets. And yeah, try to post content pretty consistently. Got a couple shows out there. It's awesome linking up with gentlemen such as yourselves, and that's pretty much the book on me.
Hey, we appreciate you, brother. Absolutely. All right,
Thanks,
Chris. Man. We're gonna end it on a little score prediction from you, Pats and Chiefs. Give me that score prediction and give me your final thoughts on your Patriots.
Oh man, you never know what to expect with the Patriots. Kind of, we've seen Bailey Zappi do horrible. We see him do great, like he did last week against the Steelers. So, and one of the better defenses in the NFL. So, don't know. The Chiefs' offense isn't looking that great as of late, but I think they've actually turned it around. They have the potential. They have the weapons. So, I want to say this is going to be probably a closer game. This is probably gonna be a closer game than a lot of people see. I'll probably see this being scored like 14-17 Kansas City's way. But I came into the season with a lot of expectations for us. I thought we were going to be such a better team than what we are. But I just pray for the best and expect the worst at this point. So I don't see us winning too many more games besides the Steelers, and we'll see. Like I said, 14-17 probably. That's what I'm looking at right now.
I was just counting on my fingers because I was looking at your last few games here.
Let's see. Horrible.
They've all been one-score games for the most part. I mean, your season is this close to being 7-6 instead of 3-11 right now, or 3-10.
Yeah,
so it's pretty crazy when you look at it. I mean, you look at the Commanders Patriots, that was a three-point game. Colts Patriots 10-6. I mean, that should have been a win for you guys. The Giants Pats 10-7, the Chargers Pats 6-0, and then this past week, of course, you guys beat the Steelers. So you guys aren't as bad as a lot of people think you are. I think your schedule has, it's been kind of easy, but it's not been, I'd say middle of the pack, right? But you guys have been close in a lot of those games,
Yeah, and even early in the season, all of our games were really close. They were decided by one score or less, and decided by one score. So until we got blown out by 30 points back to back. So the Patriots have always relatively kept it close. The only thing, our defense has been phenomenal all season long, but our offense has been our issue. So moving forward, if we can get a great quarterback in the draft and we can take that $90 million of cap space and overhaul our offensive line and our wide receiver core, to really look to build up our team, then I think our rebuild is going to be relatively quick. So next year, I have a lot more hope than I have this year. We'll see how it goes,
Just don't play yourself out of an early draft pick. That's all I got to say.
No, definitely not. Lose the rest of the games. I don't care. If we could get the number one pick, because I think right now we're poised for a number 2 pick right now. So
yeah, something like that.
So if we could get that number 1 pick and get Caleb Williams, that'd be great. Drake May is fine too, but anyone besides Mac Jones.
All right, boys. Well, hey, thank you all for joining us tonight. Fellas, thank you so much. Appreciate your time tonight. And as always, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Appreciate you guys, and take care. And I'm going to end, as I always do, by saying go Bills.
Fins up.
Pats Nation. And DKB with the Jets.
jet up, as they say. Go Bills. All right, guys. Take care. Have a great night, everyone.